you guys? Jazz out here in Singapore. Thank you so much for joining me on the Night Out podcast. And as always, you guys, I have a ball of a time sitting here talking to you and discussing the things that kind of cross my mind throughout the day, or the difficulties I've had, how I've found a way around any roadblocks that I may have run into, conversations I've had, movie concepts, stories from clients, any of those things. I really do enjoy sharing all of those things with you because I think it's important for you to see that there are many different perspectives out there, many ways to handle things. And for me, I'm lazy, so I like to simplify as much as possible. Now, for those of you who know me pretty well, you know I'm not going to throw out a bunch of psychological terms, medical jargon, none of that stuff. I want to make it as simple as possible because I need you guys to understand that there are ways to fix some of these problems that you have in your life without having to get a referral from a specialist or get diagnosed for any specific anything. I want you to be able to feel empowered enough to kind of take some things into your own hands and sort through some of these human relation problems that all of us run into. Now, today, I actually want to talk about a Bob Marley quote that I've seen on again and off again for a while. And usually I don't post it because for a long time it just didn't make sense to me. It kind of irritated me and I kind of understood it, but I wasn't sure if I really got the sense of what the quote was. So let me read the quote real quick for you. It says, "The day you stop racing is the day you win the race." Now, I kind of got that. I kind of understood. Yeah, stop racing, but it didn't hit me until recently when I had a conversation with a friend and they were saying, you know what? I don't understand. Why is it that these people have such a problem with me? Why is it that, I'm trying to be a good friend to them? I have always opened my home to them. I have been there through thick and thin. I've been there through, 10 years worth of friendship. And for some reason, the drop of a hat, they decided to turn on me. I don't understand. Or I've had clients of mine that say, they're trying to climb the corporate ladder. They have done everything right. They've been by the book. They've tried really hard not to get written up for anything. And then suddenly out of the blue, something will happen. And suddenly there's like a bunch of, write-ups or reprimands that are keeping them from getting to where they want to be. I've been through situations like that. I have been, the person that is always available. And the minute I said no to somebody, suddenly everything changed and I was not as welcome as I once thought I was. So all these things kind of like came to a grinding halt all of a sudden the other day. And I was like, I understand. I suddenly understand. The day you stop racing is the day you win the race. But why? I want to talk about that for a second. Let's talk about the race itself. Now, if I am in a race, let's say I am a horse and I'm in a race, there are several other horses with me and we're running the same track. But if I were out in a paddock running my own race, running my own, trail or whatever, and it was just be by myself, I would be winning the race because there's no one in competition with me besides me or the person I was yesterday. But when I get into a race like this, it's a horse race and an open track or whatever. Maybe it's the Kentucky Derby. I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out there at the moment. But let's go with that idea for now, right? Kentucky Derby, there's a set track. There are different kinds of horses out there, different breeds, and all of them are gunning for the same target. Okay? But let's say that my real genius is not running around in a track itself. My real genius is having an open field and running my own race. I think I've done a couple of posts about this on Instagram as well. But the minute I put myself into a group and I'm competing against the group, I have to take into consideration how they do things and what the rules are. But the minute I get rid of the group and I run my own race, I have no one to compare myself to and no rules that I have to abide by. I can adjust them as I go along, and there is no set target except the one that I place. So let's talk about this for a second. If I'm not in competition with anybody, I automatically win. If I'm not in competition with anybody as far as, okay, let's say in a office setting, I used to watch Suits all the time, and there was like a hierarchy in a legal office, right? You have your first years and you have, I don't even know all the legal jargon actually, but you have your junior partners and your senior partners and your name partners, and you have this hierarchy of people, and there is a set process. You have to go through this many years of this level and then you go to the next level, and then you do this many years of that level and you get to the next level. So there is a hierarchy, there's a pattern, there is like a process to this. But let's say you didn't grow up in a situation where you had this hierarchy or this process. Let's say you came out of a small town law office where you handled everybody in the town because you were the only ones around to be able to help. And then you go to this big city law firm and you're trying really hard to do the right thing and, win according to the law and do the best you can for your client. And suddenly you have this hierarchy and this, this chain of command and certain office politics and culture that you have to abide by. Of course, you're going to be lost, and your real genius would be lost along with it. But let's for a second think about the fact that you are a good person. You have good intentions. You're trying to help the client. The client knows that you're trying to help them, and they trust you because that's why they come to you in the first place. Of course, it's going to look like, oh, well, you're bypassing the system to the people who are raised in the system. So who do you have to blame here? Actually, it's nobody. The people who are raised in the system are conditioned to believe that this is the only way to succeed. You being an outlier, you being completely different from the rest, you see things differently than they do, you understand things differently than they do, want to walk a different path, and that upsets them because they were under the belief that this is the only way to succeed, and you're proving to them every day that that's not the only way to succeed. And so this belief system kind of breaks down, and suddenly those people feel lost, and the only way that they can feel any kind of significant is to put you down, or to reprimand you, or to make you conform somehow, because then their life makes sense again. Let's think about this in terms of parenting, shall we? Because I've seen this happen in my own family as well. My mom was raised a specific way. My grandmother went to Catholic school. She was raised in a convent. And so the way she was raised trickled down into the way she raised my mom. It was the generation that wasn't allowed to smile in photos if you were female. You're not allowed to send single photos of yourself to your fiance, even if you've already been betrothed to somebody. You had to, take pictures with the entire jingbang, your brothers, sisters, mom, dad, everybody. So it wouldn't look like you were soliciting from the person you were already betrothed to. It's that kind of culture, right? So they were raised in such a fashion that they understood, okay, well, in my younger days, until I'm about, 18, 19 or whatever, I have to do what my parents say because I live with them. And at some point, I'm going to get my own job. And once I make my own money, I have a little bit more freedom because I don't depend on my mom and dad so much. And eventually, when I get married, I move out of the house, I have a little bit more autonomy because I'm running my own house at that point. So there's a hierarchy to that as well. If you think about it, though, people who are raised in the West versus people who are raised in the East, they're raised very differently. Now, we go to school until we're about 18 years old, and then we go to college. At college, though, we don't stay at home and commute to college. A lot of us don't go to community college, we go to university, and which means you're going to stay on property at the school itself, which all of a sudden you have autonomy by yourself, right? You probably have a job or something, so you have pocket money so you can pick up food or supplies or toothbrushes, whatever the case may be, and you learn to figure out what you're good at. Are you good at time management? Are you good at, managing your finances? Are you good at making sure that you get your studies done on time? Are you good at those things? Because your mom and dad aren't breathing down your neck. Your mom and dad aren't there to check on you every 5 seconds and to make sure you don't fail. It's in your hands all of a sudden. But once the school year is over, you go home for the summer and suddenly you find yourself back in your parents' house. And because you've had this extreme change in your lifestyle, you've become very, very autonomous and independent while you're at school. You come back home and suddenly you have to abide by the rules, and it becomes very, very difficult. And that's where a lot of the rebellion starts, because you want to do things your own way. You found that you can, but your parents had this different idea of how things should be. So in that regard, what is the problem here? Is it the fact that your parents have this idea of this is the way I grew up, so you should grow up the same way because I had to earn my responsibilities and I had to earn my autonomy and to earn the right to be able to make decisions for myself? Or is it more your situation that's a little bit more understandable because you went away, you found a way to fend for yourself, and now you're back home and you're having to clash the ideas of how to run your own life versus live under your parents' rule? So in that regard, what is it that you're really fighting? Are you fighting the system that has been passed down generation to generation of how to raise your kids? Or are you fighting to run your own race because you've had to fend for yourself? You've had to learn for yourself when you live on your own how to manage your finances, your resources, your food, your time, your health. All of those things have become something that you had to figure out on your own. So when Bob Marley says something like, the day you stop racing is the day you win the race, it really has a lot of meaning to it. It really has a lot that you need to consider. If I'm trying to, get in with the popular group, obviously to become popular, you had to earn your way in there. And once you earn your way in there, you have to continue earning it because you can be just as easily discommunicated or excommunicated from the group itself. But if you're a newcomer coming into the group itself, trying to, fit in, What exactly are you trying to do to fit in? It means you're trying to conform yourself or reduce yourself so that you fit into what their ideas of popular are, what their ideas of cool are, what their ideas of acceptable are. But are you doing yourself any justice by doing that? No. But we won't want to talk about these things. As much as I would love to tell everybody, run your own race, do what makes you feel happy, I know there is a certain part of us, because we are social creatures, that we really do want to fit in. We don't want to be fighting the rest of the group the whole time. And that's part of why we talk about, running the race, whether you run the race or not. I don't want to fight to fit in. I just want to be myself. And if you like me, you like me. And if you don't, you don't. But that also means that I need to trust that you're not going to be influenced by anyone in the cool elite group that might tell you it's wrong or right to be friends with me. A lot of people don't understand that you are allowed to make up your mind for yourself. You're allowed to choose what works best for yourself. When we went from arranged marriages to love marriages, it was a big departure from what the culture was telling everybody. Your parents had the right to pick out the right family, the right, caste, economic status, if they have the kind of resources that would be able to give you a life of comfort or whatever as a woman. These are the things they looked at, not to forget all the astrological nonsense as well, before they picked out a suitable groom for their daughters. But when people started running off to, marry the one that they fell in love with, it was a lot to justify and explain, because suddenly, how do you know this is the right person? No, you're just taking a risk. How do you know that they love you? I don't know, I'm just taking a risk. How do you know that this is the most logical person for you, that they'll always be able to provide for you? I don't know, I'm taking a risk. But the point being that what is actually guaranteed? Nothing. Nothing except this moment right now that you're experiencing. So when it comes to running a race, I would love to be able to tell all of you, hey, run your own race. Do what makes you happy so you can attract the right people to you. Because when you conform and you adjust and reduce yourself so you can fit in, you're denying who you actually are, and you're only allowing people to see a portion of who you are. Because one day you will get tired of putting up this facade. One day you will get tired of trying to be what they want you to be. And when you decide to break out your wings and be all of who you actually are, there is a portion of those people who suddenly feel betrayed, like that you lied to them, that you were never honest with them in the first place, and it calls into question everything that you did do that was good in the first place. So, all of this to say that if you're not running the race, according to that society, according to this group of people that are very, very elite and popular, according to what society has said is the correct way to gain followers, to gain influence, to gain a respect at a specific level, if you're not doing it according to them, it means you're defining for yourself who you want to be. And while that may be outlier behavior at the moment, there's no place I'd rather be, because my life is peaceful as an outlier. I have no one I'm in competition with. I understand that there's plenty of success to go around for everybody to win. At the same time, at their own pace. If I win now doesn't mean that you will only win later. You can win now too. It would be different though. And that's okay too. I want to run my own race. I want you to feel free enough, to be comfortable enough, to feel safe enough to run your own race. Because at that point, when everyone is running their own race and they're not in competition with each other, we get a community that can actually come together and help each other to raise the level of tolerance, to raise the ideals and values of the community at large, to raise the next generation with an open mind, equal vision, balanced heart, full of faith, devotion, and wisdom, so that everybody wins and everybody feels safe and we really do live as a community. So I want to know what you think. I know I covered a lot of points in there because this is something that really hit me all of a sudden. I had to get it out. But what do you think? The day you stop racing is the day you win the race. Why? Because the race becomes yours and yours alone. And no one can tell you you're failing or you're winning if you're setting the rules, you're setting the mark, you're setting the pace, you're setting the vehicle by which you race, you're setting the tools that you use and you can adjust along the way. Who's to say you're not winning then? What do you think? So drop your comments down below. I would love to hear from you. But in the meantime, try and be more yourself every day. Because the world deserves to get to know you as you are. And as you pave the way and show people that you are proud of who you are and you're happy with who you are, you allow other people the permission to do the same. I love you guys. I'll catch you again soon. Bye.